Hello, common people everywhere. Thanks for joining in to my podcast, CommonGirl Creations Podcast. And also, if you're watching me on YouTube, welcome. I'm posting in both areas. Just some people are visual, some people are more audible, some people are both. And I thought I would just give it a try, kind of practice both outlets for myself and the channel. So first I want to say thank you. It's really starting to take off. I'm getting a lot of downloads. I'm getting a lot of views. Looking for more likes, shares, and subscribes. So if you could take a moment and just copy the link, share it with your friends and family across social media, send it specifically to a friend that you might think could benefit from some of this information. Again, the first really few episodes that I'm doing to kind of kick off before I dive into very specific deep on one or more topics is I just wanted to give an overview and a basis for where I get my information, my belief structure, and the laws of the universe, which consists of 12 laws, and we're hitting on, I think, law number 7 at this point. I did veer off and do a podcast a week or so ago called Fear versus Faith-Based Thinking. That's been really, really popular, and if you are somebody that is really struggling with anxiety and a lot of fears lately, I really encourage you to check out that podcast or video. And then as we move forward, I'm going to start inviting some guests on the show, and then diving a little bit more into these specific topics, because I keep getting drawn back to some of the things I've already covered, but repetitious is important for everybody. So today we're going to talk about the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Now, that's a big mouthful, and it really is about physically, or not physically, is that right? Transforming energy and creating what you want to show up in your physical world. I think that's how I want to say that. One of the things I'm working on is my setup, and I really need a teleprompter to be out here so I can read, because I keep looking down. And I've made a lot of notes. I've studied the topic for several years now. Really got deep into it this last 12 months. And so I apologize for those watching on YouTube. You're going to see my eyes going down. You're on the podcast. Just listen to my amazing voice and let it serenade you into the unknown. So the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, it expands the law of vibration. The only constant in our life, in our world, in the universe is change. You can change, direct, and redirect energies and vibrations. It's really, really important that you understand this. You have the power to control, change, direct, and redirect the energy around you and within you. Light energy rises. Light energy is the energy that when you feel like you have that sense of relief and you've kind of taken that deep breath and weight is off my shoulders. That's a release of energy. That's changing a once heavy, dark, maybe negative energy, and you're transmuting that into that lighter energy, and to you that emotion feels like relief. Heavy energy sinks and pulls you down, unable to get up. That's those days where you're feeling depressed, fearful, overwhelmed, so anxious you can't get out of bed. You want to lay on the couch all day. All of us need days to disconnect and just kind of, Netflix and chill kind of thing. But this is when it's really affecting your day-to-day, that you just feel like there's the weight of the world is on your shoulders. There's just so much coming at you. That's also called dark or shadow energy. And what's really important about this is to understand that you, and I'm going to say it a bunch of times during this broadcast, you have the ability already built within inside of you to change and remove, transmute those dark energies, those heavy weighted energies into something lighter, happier, and more useful. So you can recreate this depression, this fearfulness. And while I will only touch on it for a moment, I'm not saying that there are not people who have an actual diagnosable medical condition where there's chemicals, there's something wrong in the brain. And I don't know all the chemical terms, or it's serotonin, melatonin, or whatever, that's affecting you. There's some level that's off. I'm not discouraging you through all of this topic of conversation, saying that, that isn't effective for some people. It is. I have found in my own life and my own experience of those around me, sometimes they'll get a temporary relief, but it's not really a true fix, because people are still holding a sense of powerlessness when it comes to those really dark, heavy energies that really are really smothering you. Your best and fastest way out of any negative situation is to first realize that you do have the power. It's within you. The universe, God created the universe, and God is this amazing, omnipresent energy. I don't believe he's a white man with a white beard on a white cloud up in some faraway place that you have to reach and seek and find. I think that and truly believe that God is within each of us. And I think that's really, really important, because once again, that's a power source that's already inside of you. And one of the ways I used to think about it is, and it sounds a little crazy and juvenile, but just sometimes that's where we have to start, is I believe it's in the Transformer movies, and they're trying to get that little box of energy, or even in the MC universe, and they're trying to, what is it, the glove? I know this is really great analogy, but this power, everybody's trying to seek and grab the power and become the most powerful villain or powerful, Superman or super person on Earth, and actually in the universe. But really, at the end of the day, you carry that box, you carry that power inside of you already. Most of us just didn't know it. And then once we realize that's true, now how do we use that for our good and create a life that is reflective of our desires? Why is it that I'm sitting here and I desire abundance, specific person, I desire happiness, and none of that is showing up? Well, there's a reason for that. And it really has to do with transmuting this negative energy, these blockages, into something powerful that can really, well, not really, it will change your life. So the energy is everywhere. It's everywhere, no matter, it's always in constant motion. Emotion is energy in motion. Let me repeat that. Emotion is energy in motion. How it shows up depends on the individual. So that emotion, when we first talk about, somebody being emotional, we immediately think that's a negative thing. Oh, you're so emotional. You're so emotional because, we connect that with somehow being sad, which often it is. It's a sad, again, depressed state. It's an upsettingness of your system. But also there's other emotion, which is elation, joy, bliss, just beside yourself with gratitude and thankfulness. That's also emotion. And it really is within your power to transform that energy into something that's more useful for you. If you don't believe this is true, and I believe it was Neville that said this, Neville Goddard, that as I talk about and as you learn more about laws of the universe, and you're having doubts of whether this is true, is the universe really energy? Do I have the power to feel and discern between positive and negative energy, not only within me, but outside of me? And test it. He says, just test it. Test me. And the next time you walk into a room, I want you to pay attention to how you feel. You walk into a room of coworkers, family members, strangers, walk into a place, and if there's something negative that's been going on, let me know if you feel that. Let yourself know if you feel that. When you walk into a room and the energy changes, and most of the time people will say, "Ooh, you could cut the tension with a knife." That thickness, that heaviness that's in the room, something is wrong. Or when you walk up to a stranger and you just, something's off. Maybe it's somebody you know, something's off. Not because they said anything, not because they even looked different, just because you felt something different. You felt that energy. You felt that in your gut, maybe. Some of us feel things when we do have an overwhelming sense of emotion. Some of us will feel it in our gut. Some of us will feel it as a weight in our chest. Some of it, we'll feel it in our head. Some of it will feel in our back. It just depends on who you are. But those feelings, your body is reacting to an energy before you even have time to define it. You may not even know. It's just like, ooh, something's off. On the flip side of that, wow, this feels so good. This atmosphere feels so good. I used to manage retail stores, and one of the challenges with my employees and associates was to create a welcoming atmosphere. What does that mean? Does that mean welcome, welcome, welcome? I mean, we walk into, let's say, Walmart. The Walmart greeter is there. Hi, welcome to Walmart. Does that set the tone for the whole? No, that's words. But when you walk through the door and you have a collective of people and emotions, and from store employees to customers, you can feel if that's a welcoming atmosphere. So again, I challenge you to, on any of these topics, and we'll dive more into this in detail, I challenge you to prove me wrong. And I just don't, I've tried this for many, many years, and I end up just proving it right over and over. And those are just some basic common examples to kind of hopefully validate what I'm saying. When you're feeling that emotion or that reaction in your stomach, in your chest, in your head, that is what we call your chakra energy. I'm going to do a whole video on chakra, but it is your energy processing centers from the top of your head down to the base of your tailbone, basically. And there's different chakras that do different things, but the part of your body, like, why is it the chest, why is it the stomach, those are different energy centers that are picking those up. And many of you are familiar, probably just in a general term, on what chakras are, but we're going to dive more into it at a later date. But just so you know, for this, it is an indicator. The chakra will be the indicator how that reacts, a positive or negative, a heavy or a light feeling, on whether that energy is benefiting you, or whether you need to transmute that into something else. Okay? So one of the challenges in our lives when we are going through some sort of turmoil, upsettedness, dysfunction, just in a place you don't want to be, whether you think that's you're doing or some outside force is doing. We'll talk about that because it really is all you're doing. What we want to do is learn how to transfer that energy, especially if it's a negative. We want to transfer it into something that's more mindful, something constructive, and something more positive. And it may seem overwhelming where you're at right now. And if you're in that place of really almost desperation, and maybe that's why you're looking at my channel and you're just trying to find answers, like, it has to be better than this. There has to be a better way. This is one of the most important things you can learn, is how to transmute that energy. Now, on my other videos, I talked about, when you're in those triggered points or places, an easy way to, some methods to calm yourself down and to kind of clear your mind a little bit is through breathing techniques, that in for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, and also meditative states, calming yourself. There's all kinds of ways to kind of settle your system down. And sometimes that takes longer than others. But the thought that I want you to hold on to, if you're in those moments, or you have those moments, or if you see somebody else in those moments, is this too shall pass. There is no emotion, there is no feeling, there is no situation that stays the same. It doesn't happen. Energy is constantly in motion. It's constantly moving. Now, it may feel like it's dragged out days, weeks, months, years, but it's only dragged out because you haven't learned the strategies to transmute those negative energies into something more constructive. You cannot move forward. You cannot grow. You cannot be better and live better until you have transmuted and learned to transmute negative into the positive. You can't. It's a wall. That energy gets so thick, that negative situation, that it just is like banging your head and eventually your body on a wall because it's so thick and strong you can't break through. And sitting there and hoping somebody comes and rescues you isn't going to happen. There is nobody else but you. There's not another person. There's not another doctor. There's not another. At the end of the day, all teachers can do, and life coaches and mindfulness coaches and doctors, they can provide you the information. They can give you the steps. They can tell you with 100% certainty it will work out. But it won't happen until you decide to actually do it, to do the work. And the work is so much easier than you think once you start with the basic steps of relaxing and breathing, understanding, and say it 20 times if you got to say it 200. This too shall pass. And you know why it will pass? You know how we know that with 100% certainty that will pass? Is because you are now aware that it will pass. And that awareness that change is coming, that awareness that change can happen, that awareness of you will not stay in this place for much longer, is the first step to figuring out how to transmute it into something more positive. I really encourage you, if you're somebody who's really struggling with this, especially over the last few years with COVID, it's been tough. Finances are tough. Housing market's tough. There's just a lot going on, right? And you just have to make a decision. You have to make that commitment. Not to anybody, not to me, not your family, your friends, your husband, your wife. You need to make that commitment within yourself and that promise, and tell yourself, this too shall pass. And it's going to pass because I am now going to take the steps I need to start transmuting some of this negativity into something more constructive. An example of this would be a relationship breakup. For those of you that have experienced this and have come through to the other side, and trust me, if you're in it, you don't believe there's another side. If you're fearful of it, that's going to happen, you can't imagine another side. But there is another side. Why? Because energy is always in motion. And this too shall pass, and it will continue. How long you stay in that darkness depends on how long you're going to take to hear this message. But for those of you that I'm talking to that have been through the other side, the majority of the time, actually not the majority, really all the time, depending on where you are on your walk, on your journey, is that something positive, something better, some improvement has come because of that separation. Something just wonderful can come out of a darkest situation, especially when it comes with a relationship breakup. You know, a lot of it's learning. We usually learn who we are. If we don't learn anything else, we learn what we will put up with and what we won't. We will learn different things about who we are, and who your friends are, who the people are around you. And for the most part, it really turns into an incredible next chapter. Now, there are some of us that maybe they've had to do a few breakups to kind of get to that point. And it just seems the last 2 or 3 are just, wow, it just seems like I'm repeating the exact same thing, different person, exact same process, different person, exact same outcome, different person. And that's because we're not transmuting the energy. We're literally just regurgitating it. We're like, oh, this is awful. Get a relief, remove yourself from it. Let me jump right back in. Because we haven't learned to change that. Maybe it's negative influence, childhood memory. Maybe it's generational negative energy. Maybe it's bad habits and thoughts and addictions. And we haven't made the change. We haven't turned it and changed it into something more. So this transmutation of energy is really, can be really complicated. And I know I've rattled on a little bit. I'm not sure that I explained this my best. But I'm going to dive deeper into specific topics and show in some future podcasts and also my YouTube channel how to really intentionally continue to tap into your power source, that inner being within you, that God source, that universe that's in you, to really start providing some skills and methods to help you with this process. I know there's a ton of, probably thousands, if not millions, of coaches and manifestation people, and I'm not saying I'm better than any of them. I don't think I'm any worse, for sure. And I think it's amazing that there's a community of men and women that are dedicating their free time. This is not my full-time job. I'm not monetized. I don't even know how to do that. But that all of us started kind of at the same place. And the place was, all right, I've hit a wall. I've hit a wall of negative energy. I've hit a wall, and I need this big black blob of negativeness to move. And I keep yelling at it, screaming at it, crying at it. It's not moving. So I need to go and I need to find some answers and some skills, develop some skills to move past this and to become that bigger and better self that I've always wanted to be. So I'm going to end the podcast here because all of a sudden, just like a flood of information, training, lessons, I'm going to put together on this specific topic, how you specifically deal with it with money. Specific person is a really big one. Success in business, that kind of stuff. How we can take these negative situations and turn them into something positive. But the first step, and I'm just trying to give you the first step, is you need to tell yourself over and over until your subconscious believes it. This too shall pass, and you have the power to change it. And I know you can do it. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Send me a message. Send me an email. I'd love to talk to you one-on-one. There is no cost. I'm not doing anything that's paid right now. I might in the future. I don't know. But right now, I'd like to just kind of continue to grow the channel and grow the podcast. And I'd love to hear from you. So thanks for following. Thanks for listening, guys.